The brutish direct sledgehammer, a weapon that can take down an entire building, exemplifies what the excellent Red Faction Guerrilla is all about. Destruction is this game's currency, and it does it to a level not seen before in other open world adventures. Mars is yours to annihilate, and while the main story is uninvolving and the action can get repetitive, you'll find plenty to like in the game's mayhem-filled single-player campaign and impressive multiplayer offerings. Mayhem is built into Guerrilla's DNA, and its impressive physics engines realistically showcases destruction on a massive scale. The game ditches the deformable landscapes that were a staple of previous games in the Red Faction series, offering up instead the ability to take apart anything in the game. Any man-made object can be reduced to rubble, and every structure or vehicle features its own unique physical properties. All of this destruction is performed in real time, which means no structure collapses in the same way. The realistic nature of this rampant destructibility is the standout feature of Guerrilla, and it will affect many of your gameplay decisions. Cover, for example, is at best a temporary haven for you and your enemies. If an enemy sniper is perched on a building, you can easily destroy the floor underneath them. You can stop pursuers by blowing up a bridge as you pass it, or even level an entire building to kill all the troops inside. It's hard not to get swept up in all the damage you can cause. If it sounds like the game can get frenetic and chaotic, that's because it can. Despite the fact that your main character, Alec Mason, is a guerrilla, a member of the underground group Red Faction which is trying to take out the all-powerful Earth Defense Force, there's little scope for anything other than full volume action, even if you are trying to approach a mission with subtlety. What follows is a lengthy main storyline which is fairly cliched for the most part. Mason's motivation for revenge doesn't ring that strongly throughout the campaign, and there are very few twists and turns to keep the plot engaging. The EDF have total control of the 6 sectors of the planet, oppressing its population of miners with its heavy security presence and upfront brutality. To free the planet, you'll have to do it sector by sector. Each will have its own level of EDF control that you'll have to lower, while at the same time raising the population's morale. The game's 8 different mission types will do one or the other, and in many cases, they'll do both. Lowering EDF control opens up new story missions which will move forward Guerrilla's main narrative, while improving morale means more of the population will randomly jump in and support you when you get into a fight with the EDF. On the surface, the mission types are varied, but the game's aggressive AI means most missions will end up in large explosions and a hail of gunfire. While this doesn't make the action one-dimensional, it does make it one-note. Sure, you can blow stuff up in a variety of interesting and creative ways, but in the end it's still the same thing, blowing stuff up. It's to the game's credit then, and to the credit of its remarkable robust physics engine, that despite this repetitiveness, Guerrilla's destruction manages to be engaging and entertaining for the 15 or so hours it will take you to get through the single-player campaign. The game is quite challenging even at lower difficulty levels, and you'll find yourself pushed to survive most large-scale fights at medium difficulty. Guerrilla has a cover function which will let you stick to walls, but it's not something you can really rely on. You'll sometimes fail to stick to objects properly, and trying to pop out to shoot can cause you to leave cover completely sometimes. Thankfully, the rest of Red Faction Guerrilla's controls are solid, particularly its shooting mechanic, which feels just right. Most of your weapons are your typical archetypes. There are pistols, machine guns, shotguns, rocket launchers, and sniper variants. But Guerrilla does feature some unique weapons, such as the interesting nano rifle, a weapon which sends out a bolt of microscopic nanites that corrode anything they hit, and this includes people as well as buildings. Driving too is similarly solid, with the only caveat being that most vehicles seem to be floaty and easy to flip. You'll also run across beefy, mech-like walkers, which are great to pilot against hordes of EDF soldiers. These are pretty rare occurrences, however, but they're so much fun that you'll be left wishing there were more instances where you could use them. Guerrilla's multiplayer offers plenty of unique experiences you won't find in a single-player game. The game can employ up to 16 players online, and features the stock standard deathmatch, team deathmatch, and capture the flag variants. All of the single-player game's destructibility adds another level of strategy to matches, as you're only ever one sledgehammer blow away from instant death, no matter how thick your cover. Added to this are new items exclusive to multiplayer which can radically affect how you play. The main additions are 10 different backpacks available, which act as either offensive, defensive, or support aids during combat. Multiplayer will also give you the power to rebuild, an ability which features heavily in two of Guerrilla's 3 unique online modes. The Reconstructor gun can repair damaged or destroyed structures, and is used in the siege and damage control modes. The third unique online mode is Demolition. These new modes are fun, and damage control in particular is a hectic affair as your team continually scrambles to destroy and repair the various checkpoints. Guerrilla's online component, in fact, is a definite winner. Games ran almost completely lag-free during testing, with the most noticeable issue being an occasional lapse between hitting an object with a sledgehammer and seeing it crumble. The area of Mars you'll traverse in Red Faction Guerrilla might be big, but there's not an awful lot to see. There's plenty of red hills, open plains, and dust. And what few populated areas there are seem sparse in comparison to other games in this genre. It's hard to fault the game for this. After all, this is what a human colony on Mars would conceivably look like. But it doesn't change the fact that you'll be looking at dirt a lot of the time in Guerrilla. That said, the game does look quite impressive. The textures on Mars and its architecture look realistic, as do many of the lighting effects with the various explosions and pyrotechnics on show. There's occasionally some pop-up, but for the most part the game's problem with draw distance is obscured by small hills and other geographical landmarks that are conveniently placed between you and the game world's horizon. Sound also fares well. Explosions, gunfire, building collapses, and more are done with aplomb. But perhaps the most satisfying is the solid thunk you'll hear every time you use your sledgehammer. And you'll end up hearing that thunk a lot in Red Faction Guerrilla, but you'll never get tired of it because its deep, crunchy sound is tied so intrinsically to the satisfying visual destruction you see. Guerrilla's gameplay is similar. Many of the missions may feel like they're at the same loud, all-out pace, but when devastation is this well presented, it's difficult not to get swept along by its primal energy. Red Faction Guerrilla mixes a long and involving single-player campaign with a fun and satisfying online segment, with both adding up to a game that proves that a little chaos, or in this case a lot, can be a positive thing.